Hello everyone and welcome to my The Bold Fans channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Long golden rectangles were cast across the hardwood floor of Taylor Hayes' living room as the late afternoon sun streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Inside the Cliff home, the air seemed thick and packed with the kind of silence that only comes after a storm has passed or is about to start. Outside, the Pacific rolled in with its customary steady beat. With her hands clenched in her lap, Taylor sat on the edge of the couch, gazing at the half-empty coffee cup she had left behind an hour before. It had been 2 nights since she had slept soundly. Something has changed in the house since Steffy unexpectedly returned from Monaco. When her daughter talked at all, her voice was clipped and her eyes had a crimson rim. Taylor had posed polite queries. Taylor had initially accepted Steffy's response, which consisted of shrugs and the same repeated statement, "I just needed to come home." She saw the need for distance after everything that had happened with Finn and Sheila, after the aircraft flight that had ultimately broken the last shred of trust. She was surprised by Steffy's refusal to look at her when Carter Walton's name was mentioned. It all began with a straightforward phone call. That morning Ridge had called. His voice taut with the kind of restrained rage Taylor was all too familiar with. "Finn is still in Monaco attempting to make amends. He calls Steffy but she won't answer. And when I saw Carter at work yesterday he looked terrible." Taylor, something occurred. "I'm not sure what it is, but Steffy isn't herself." Taylor had written off the concern as overbearing parenting. When Steffy was silent, Ridge always assumed the worst. However, she had heard a brief exchange of words through Steffy's bedroom door at noon. Steffy was on the phone, speaking in a low, frantic tone. "We are unable to discuss it." "Not quite yet." Steffy immediately stopped the call and contrived a grin that never reached her eyes when Taylor entered the corridor. "Just give me time." Now, as the sun started to slowly set, Taylor got up and moved toward the window. She could make out the coastline's bend and the far-off lights of Malibu starting to come on. Carter was dealing with his own devastation somewhere out there. Daphne's departure and the breakdown of whatever future they had attempted to create. Carter has long been a favorite of Taylor's. He was dependable, devoted, and the kind of man who carried the weight of others without complaining. A cold knot formed in her gut at the thought that he and Steffy might have ended up in the same dark location on the same night. The front door opened. With the keys still hanging from her fingers, Steffy entered. Her hair was twisted back in an untidy knot, and she was dressed in yesterday's attire, which were dark pants and a soft gray sweater that hung loosely on her body. She appeared worn out. "Mom," she murmured in shock. Taylor turned and said, "You're still up. I was anticipating your arrival." After a moment of hesitation, Steffy moved across the room and sat on the other end of the couch. Neither of them spoke for a considerable amount of time. The distant crash of waves was the only sound. Taylor said, "I need to know what happened." "Not the version you offer, Ridge." Steffy's shoulders stiffened. "The real one. Everything matters when it prevents you from sleeping. Nothing happened that matters. When each time your phone calls you jump." Steffy's eyes shot up sharply. "When you look at Carter like you've both seen something you can't unsee." "How are you aware of Carter?" "Because Ridge brought him up." "Since I am familiar with such appearance." Taylor leaned closer and said, "I've worn it myself." "You were devastated when you returned from Monaco. You headed directly to the workplace. Carter was present. You two had consumed alcohol. Then something changed." Steffy averted her gaze. It seemed as though the silence might break. At last, in a voice hardly audible above a whisper, she stated, "We talked. It was just meant to be that. Speaking. Regarding Finn. Concerning Sheila. About how everything I believed to be solid ended up being sand." He was referring to Daphne. About how she simply walked away. She pressed her palms against her thighs, as if the life they were creating was insufficient. We continued to pour drinks. There was nobody in the office. It was getting late. And I didn't feel totally alone for the first time in weeks. Taylor said. She had long since discovered that exerting too much pressure simply caused Steffy to back off. Steffy went on. I started crying. Not the reserved type. The unsightly type. I told him that I couldn't bear the idea of Sheila being anywhere close to Finn, my kids, or any of us. I told him I wanted to let go of my anger. He stated he had me while placing his hands on my arms. And then, she said, her voice breaking, I have no idea who moved first. We were staring at each other one moment, and then we were kissing as if this was the only way to survive the end of the world. Taylor felt her breath leave her body. She had prepared herself for a variety of scenarios, including a confrontation with Sheila, another altercation with Finn, or even Steffy shutting everyone out. This was not what she had anticipated. And following the kiss, Taylor asked, maintaining a steady tone. Steffy blushed. We continued. Clothes were removed. We found ourselves sitting on Eric's office couch. It was hectic, desperate. We were both having trouble thinking coherently. She put both hands over her face and said, we just needed to feel something that wasn't pain. We just lay there when it was over. The effects of the drink were wearing off. Reality hit hard. We should never talk about it, he said. Concurred. I returned home after leaving before sunrise. Taylor sat motionless. I haven't looked him in the eye since. Images flashed through her head. Steffy as a young child rushing into her arms following a nightmare. Steffy as a teenager storming out following a quarrel. And Steffy as a mother defending her children like a lioness. The same woman was sitting across from her now. Her shoulders trembling as she admitted to a night that might destroy everything she had worked so hard to create. Is Finn aware of this? Taylor inquired. No. And he won't. Not from me, Steffy said, lowering her hands. Nothing about him changes as a result. We're done already. It was only a moment of weakness. Moments like that have consequences, Taylor remarked softly as two drowning people clung to one another. Steffy's eyes blazed as she said, You know that better than most. Don't give me lectures. Not in light of everything you've done to Deacon. You also went too far. The words fell with purposeful precision. You put yourself in danger because you wanted to feel something again. Taylor took them in without recoiling. You're correct. Yes, I did. And I had to deal with the consequences. I'm still dealing with it. It's not about me, though. Steffy suddenly got up and strode to the window, saying, This is about you and the choice you made when you were hurting. I keep playing it over and over. The way he gazed at me. I didn't give a damn about whose office we were in or the potential consequences. All I wanted was for the cacophony inside my thoughts to stop. And it did for a short period. She looked back. However, the noise level has increased. I see him every time I close my eyes. I feel puzzled, angry, and guilty all at once. At work, I'm not sure how to look at him without remembering. Taylor got up and walked across the room, saying, I don't know how to look at myself. She put her hand on her daughter's shoulder. You committed a human error when you were in excruciating pain. You are still forgivable despite this. What if Carter can't look past it either? It makes you someone who needed comfort and found it in the wrong place at the wrong time. Steffy inquired. What if this destroys our long-standing professional trust? What if Daphne finds out in any way, ruining their remaining chance? If we ever get into a battle about the kids, what if Finn uses it against me? After that, we handle each of those issues as they arise, Taylor stated. One step at a time. Steffy leaned into her mother's touch for a moment before pulling away, saying, The only person who needs to know the full truth right now is the one sitting in this room with you. I can't stop thinking about how I condemned you for Deacon. Claimed you were careless. She was unable to complete the sentence. And now I'm the one who. She was led back to the couch by Taylor. Their shoulders were nearly in contact as they sat side by side. The sky outside had become indigo. Through the mist, a few early stars could be seen. It's unbelievable, Taylor said. Not because I don't think highly of you. Because I am aware of how hard you have always worked to keep the people you care about safe. Include oneself. You weren't defending anyone that evening. Steffi exhaled deeply and tremblingly. You were just trying to survive the night. When Carter texted the following morning, he said nearly the same thing. 3 simple words. Are you okay? I didn't respond. You should, Taylor remarked. I still haven't. Not to reiterate it. Not to make commitments that neither of you can fulfill. Steffi nodded, but she didn't seem persuaded. Just to shut the door neatly so it doesn't keep swinging open in your mind. What happens if I see him and everything comes flooding back? What happens if the guilt transforms into something else? Then you realize that your life is not defined by one night. Taylor's voice softened even further. You remember that you are still Steffi Forrester. Fierce, complicated, capable of surviving far worse than a drunken mistake. You also keep in mind that your mom is present. Not to pass judgment. Not to repair. They remained in that position for a considerable amount of time, with the ocean serving as their only source of music. Just to sit with you while you figure out the next right thing. After a while, Steffi leaned her head against Taylor's shoulder, much like she used to do when she was little and everything seemed too enormous. Taylor caressed her hair, allowing the quiet to work silently. Later, Taylor stayed on the sofa as Steffi went upstairs to try to sleep. She reflected on the lengthy series of nights that had led them to this point. Nights filled with passion, treachery, and desperate decisions made out of fear, loneliness, or love. She considered Deacon, Brooke, Ridge, and all the intertwined strands that still bound their lives together. She wondered if the woman he had held that night would ever be able to look at him without seeing the damage, as she imagined Carter sitting somewhere across the city with the same weight on his chest. Taylor got up and made one final trip to the window. The lake was silvered by the rising moon. Somewhere out there, 2 individuals were attempting to mend the damage caused by a single night of shared suffering. What had occurred in Eric's office could not be undone. She was unable to remove the recollection from Carter's consciousness or Steffi's body. All she could do was watch the fallout and make sure her daughter didn't take it as the primary narrative about herself. We'll get through this, she muttered into the empty room, more to herself than to anybody else. We always do, she said, turning out the lights and making her way up the stairs with the silent certainty that some nights leave scars that never completely go away and that the people you love the most will still be there in the morning, prepared to support you through whatever those scars may require. Taylor Hayes believed she had already witnessed all the betrayals her family could inflict. She had seen Ridge make tough romantic decisions, supported Steffi in perilous circumstances, and discovered that even the most resilient families could conceal terrible truths. However, nothing could have prepared Taylor for what she was going to learn about Carter and Steffi. Taylor finds it difficult to comprehend how her daughter could have gone so far in this startling, bold, and the beautiful spoiler plot. It's not only about what Steffi did with Carter. It's also about why she did it, what she was attempting to achieve, and whether or not she was aware of how many lives may be harmed by her choice. In the Forrester family, Carter Walton has never been an average person. He has frequently been at the center of significant disputes due to his relationship with the family, his job at Forrester Creations, and his complex romantic life. Additionally, recent plots have demonstrated the extent to which Steffi can influence Carter's personal choices. In a previous plot, Steffi had a key role in reintroducing Daphne Rose into Carter's life since she thought it would benefit the business and improve Carter's romantic circumstances. The most recent twist is much more dramatic because of that background. Taylor might have thought Steffi was only defending her family. She is aware of her daughter's intense loyalty, particularly when she feels that someone she loves is in danger. Steffi has never been the kind to observe things in silence. She takes action when she thinks she is correct. She occasionally takes action without considering the repercussions. And it might have been precisely what transpired the night everything changed. The spoiler setup states that Taylor eventually finds out that Steffi and Carter had an unexpected private rendezvous. Taylor is shocked to learn that Carter is more than just another man in Steffi's life. Because of his close ties to the Forrester family, any secret involving him could have repercussions for the entire Forrester Creations company. Disbelief might be Taylor's initial response. She may reject what she has been told. After all, Taylor has always desired for her daughter to have stability in her personal life, and Steffy is married to Finn. Steffy's marriage had withstood significant challenges in the past, including as jealousy, miscommunication, and outside meddling. So why would Steffy put everything at danger at this point? Taylor is unable to avoid that question. What transpired before to the covert meeting might be the greatest mystery. Was Steffy displaying signs of emotion? Was Carter at risk? Did they both make a choice that they later regretted? Or was there something much more significant going on in the background? This kind of secret is rarely introduced in soap operas without a compelling explanation. Eventually, Taylor could see that Steffy had nothing to do with romance. It's possible that she thought she was finding a solution. Steffy has a history of taking charge when she believes her family is in danger, and occasionally this instinct can lead her into unintended terrain. Thus, a more significant Forrester issue may be linked to the startling evening with Carter. Let's say Taylor confronts her daughter in private. She wouldn't yell or blame Steffy right away. Taylor is too familiar with her daughter to do that. Rather, she could simply ask Steffy, "What happened?" while gazing into her eyes. At first, Steffy might decline to respond. Taylor would learn everything from that quiet. In addition to being a mother, Taylor works as a psychiatrist. She would be able to spot the telltale symptoms of someone attempting to conceal something. Taylor may recognize that this is much more serious than she first thought because of Steffy's hesitancy, anxiety, and increased defensiveness. Steffy could then at last be honest with her. Carter might have come to Steffy in need of assistance. Perhaps he was going through another romantic crisis, and Steffy believed she could help him get through it. Perhaps boundaries vanished, the discussion became heated, and one awful choice led to another. Whatever transpired, Taylor would find it hard to comprehend how Steffy let herself get there. She would instantly start worrying about Finn. Taylor is aware that Finn would find it difficult to overlook a betrayal. More significantly, Taylor is aware of how essential Steffy's marriage is to her daughter. The repercussions might be disastrous if Finn learned the truth from someone else. Steffy may maintain that nothing significant occurred. Taylor, though, might put her to the test. A secret remains a secret. Furthermore, Steffy already knew it was wrong if she had to conceal it. Taylor might be haunted by that realization. Because of Carter's convoluted past with Steffy, the scenario gets even more complicated. Steffy has frequently voiced strong thoughts about Carter's choices, and he has been involved in some of the Forrester family's most significant conflicts. Rather than passion, their relationship has frequently been built on business, familial loyalty, and competing goals. Taylor would be especially surprised if the two went too far because of this. She might start to question whether Steffy has been concealing more profound emotions. Could there have been a deeper level of attraction? Is it possible that Steffy was using Carter as a way to get away from marital pressure? Or might Steffy have turned to Carter when she was feeling emotionally alone? The plot may revolve around these questions. Carter, meantime, may have an explanation of his own. He was able to inform Taylor that the event was unplanned. He could maintain that he had no intention of harming Finn and that Steffy was under extreme strain. Given that it would be unjust to blame Steffy alone, Carter might even take accountability. Excuses, however, might not pique Taylor's curiosity. She may let Carter know that Steffy stands to lose everything. Her union, her relatives, Finn and her connection, her authority, maybe even her connection to Taylor. That final option can be very agonizing. Steffy and Taylor have always had an exceptionally strong relationship. Steffy has looked to her mother for emotional support, particularly when things go difficult in her life. The two can become intimately entangled in each other's secrets and romantic issues, as demonstrated by recent B&B tales. For instance, Steffy battled the peril of her mother's covert connection and confronted Taylor about her love for Deacon. As a result, Taylor is accustomed to learning painful facts about her daughter. However, things might be different this time. Taylor might believe that Steffy has placed herself in a situation from which there is no simple solution. Furthermore, Steffy might not even acknowledge that she did anything improper. That can lead to a heated argument between the mother and daughter. Taylor may wonder if Steffy is truly in love with Finn. Steffy might get upset. She may maintain that years of devotion, love, and loyalty cannot be destroyed by a single error. She might contend that individuals make mistakes, particularly when they're under duress. Taylor might reply that errors have repercussions. Steffy might be devastated by that conversation. However, there is another scenario that can make this plot even more startling. What if more people are aware of what transpired than just Carter and Steffy? It's possible that someone else saw them that evening. Secrets hardly remain hidden for very long in the world of the bold and the beautiful. Everything could eventually come to light due to a misplaced phone, a suspicious message, a picture, or even a conversation that was overheard. Taylor's greatest dread would come true if that occurred. The secret might be revealed to Finn. And Steffy might not tell him. That would exacerbate the betrayal. Finn has already had instances of other people meddling in his marriage. He might react violently if he finds out that Steffy voluntarily withheld something this important from him. Steffy might make a valiant effort to clarify. She might explain to Finn that it was meaningless. She may claim that Carter was present at a trying time. She might maintain that she had no intention of things going as far as they did. However, Finn might only learn that Steffy had deceived him. At that point, Taylor would be trapped in the middle. She would want to keep Steffy safe because she is a mother. She would be aware that protecting Steffy does not always include assisting her in concealing the truth because she is a relationship expert. Taylor could have to make an unfeasible decision. Should she persuade Steffy to come clean? In order to save her daughter's marriage, should she retain the secret? Should she inform Finn on her own? None of those decisions would be simple. Taylor may also start placing the blame on herself. She wondered whether she had somehow let Steffy down. Perhaps she was too preoccupied with Ridge. Perhaps she was too preoccupied with her own complex interpersonal issues. Perhaps she was blind to her daughter's difficulties. She might be consumed by that guilt. Meanwhile, Steffy might grow more and more desperate.